This week, Mike introduces some of his favourite indie games from the year that was 2015. We chat to Wargaming about World of Tanks on PlayStation 4, and Unravel creator Martin Sahlin joins us to discuss everybody's new favourite character, Yarny. It's 2016, and this is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week we're jumping right back in with the latest gaming news. First up, let's get some bad stuff out of the way. The DayZ forum suffered a pretty serious security breach in late January where all usernames, email addresses, and secure passwords were accessed and downloaded. Since then, publisher Bohemia Interactive has taken the forums offline and beefed up security, but if you were a member of the message boards, you should change your passwords, particularly if you use the same one in other places online. There was a bit of trademark drama over the holiday break as well, with EA and Ubisoft battling it out over the word ghost. This process actually started nearly a year ago, with EA submitting its first applications back in March 2015 and Ubisoft objecting, claiming that it's too similar to the existing trademark for Ghost Recon. Even now, we're no closer to knowing just what EA wants the trademark for, but they still want it. EA has also been forced to abandon another trademark application as the US Patent and Trademark Office has determined that Unravel is too similar to a name used by children's board game Barry's Unravel Game and has rejected EA's application. The publisher has decided not to rename the puzzle platformer, which is out right now for PC, PS4 and Xbox One, and we catch up with creator Martin Sahlin a little later in the show. Sony took the bold step of attempting to trademark Let's Play earlier this year, with the US Patent and Trademark Office unsurprisingly shooting that one down quick smart. This one was actually rejected twice. Firstly, due to an existing trademark, Let's Play of America is a company that organises gaming events, and secondly, for the more obvious reason that Let's Play is a generic term that cannot be trademarked. That sound you hear is the countless YouTubers who use the phrase in their videos each day, but be warned, Sony does have another 6 months to appeal this second knockback. Moving right along, and some cool things were revealed during the traditionally quiet December-January period, including the somewhat inevitable LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is headed to PS3, PS4, Vita, 3DS, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Windows PC, and Wii U from June 28. We also learned about Insomniac Games' latest project, a Metroidvania-style 2D shooter set underwater. It's a bit of a shift from the studio that brought us Fuse, Sunset Overdrive, and the Resistance series, described as a passion project for the company's Chief Creative Officer Brian Hastings. It's due out around the middle of the year for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and is published by, wait for it, GameStop. While we still don't have a release date for Final Fantasy XV, we now know that the date will be revealed on March 30th at a special gala event named Final Fantasy Uncovered. Following that announcement of an announcement, the internet is abuzz with the story that the upcoming console release might be joined by a PC version as well. Eagle-eyed gamers spotted references to a Windows PC build in the website for the Uncovered event, and even though the code has now been deleted, it's planted that little seed of intrigue. And speaking of PC releases and release dates, brace yourselves because Doom is set to hit Windows PC as well as PS4 and Xbox One on May 13. Pre-ordering the game now will net you a bunch of nifty bonuses, including the Demon Multiplayer Pack, which features skin variations, paint colours and logos that can be applied to your armour and weaponry to use in multiplayer matches. If you're not the sort who wants to play with other people, the Doom Premium Collector's Edition also features a 12-inch tall statue of the Revenant Demon, complete with glowing LED base and a slow spinning turntable. Believe it or not, while it is only February, the games industry is already busily planning things to show off at E3, or, in the case of a couple of publishers, what they'll show off not at E3. Bethesda has confirmed that it'll do pretty much what it did last year, hosting a pre-E3 showcase in Los Angeles on the Sunday before the convention kicks off. In 2015, this event was jam-packed with awesome content. It's where we first learned about Dishonored 2, got a decent look at Doom and Fallout 4, and got our sticky smartphone fingers on Fallout Shelter. Our fingers are now firmly crossed that the studio can make it 2 in a row. Going one step further though is EA, which has announced not only is it hosting a pre-event showcase, but it's abandoning the E3 show floor altogether. Rather than hosting its traditional booth, the publisher has booked out space in the nearby club Nokia, with a new event planned to be more accessible to the fans. The free entry event will be open to industry members who are in town for E3, but the main focus is on the general public. And finally this week, there is yet another new video game movie in the works. Rampage, the 80s Midway arcade game, is getting the Hollywood treatment with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson set to star. The movie's actually been in the works since 2011, and we've got a pretty good idea of what to expect. Rampage, the game, features giant monsters destroying a city, so we're guessing that Johnson will more than likely play a human whose job it is to fight them rather than appearing as a monster himself. This action-packed theory is backed up by the team behind the camera. Both co-writer Carlton Cuse and director Brad Payton worked with Dwayne Johnson on his recent big-screen outing, San Andreas. This one probably won't be a terribly cerebral, ponderous outing, but it should be the perfect companion to a big tub of popcorn and an oversized, sugary beverage. No word on a date just yet, but we are more than ready. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
"2015 was quite the year as far as video games go. There were titles that were in development for ages that truly lived up to their potential, some that perhaps missed their mark slightly but were still enjoyable nonetheless. There were also some that were a little more under the radar but still managed to impress in a number of different ways. It was a year that, even with all the usual top-tier, massive budget games on the shelves such as Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, smaller games managed to find a bigger audience. This, I believe, is a good thing. With digital distribution growing in popularity and becoming increasingly widely accepted across the globe, more people are jumping on board every day, and also publishers are becoming more inclined and willing to produce retail copies of some of these lower budget efforts. This, I believe, is a very good thing. Games are becoming more diverse, which can only improve as time goes on. More subject matters are being touched upon, some of which are those that are only talked about in private conversations with your closest friends. It feels like the medium is growing up. Not quite into full adulthood yet, where all subjects become fair game and can be treated with enough respect. It is, however, getting there. Closer and closer every year. Gamers aren't the social pariahs we once were. We're not seeing the sequels yet, but things are improving, and when games grow up, so too will a non-gaming public's opinion of them. This, I believe, is a very good thing. In my opinion, this can be mostly attributed to independent small teams and their ideas for a better tomorrow of games. 2015 was a great year for these smaller games. Here's a list of a few that I managed to get around to.
When was the last time you saw Kate Vine?
It was last Thursday in the college library.
Contradiction Spot the Liar is a game that takes place almost entirely in video form. Imagine you're playing a darkly comic episode of Midsummer Murders and you'll be most of the way there. It can be quite goofy at times, which actually made me enjoy it all the more. Catching out interviewees and their lies via the contradictions in their testimonies always makes me feel good, like you figured it out and that you're one step closer to solving a murder. Some of the characters are almost caricatures in their overacting, but that does nothing but add charm to them and to the game as a whole. Surprisingly great to play with a group.
It was suicide.
Who is it?
I'm a police officer, Detective Inspector Jenks.
Scrying goes back centuries. The ancient Persians did it. This country pagans still practice it. You lose yourself in your unconscious and you get dragged down to the bottom.
It's borrowed from paganism. It's the symbol of the triple goddess. The mother, maiden, and crone.
No, Inspector, I have no interest in the occult. We're a training company, we're not devil worshippers. What kind of a question is that?
He's a policeman, we can't just...
You man up and you sort it.
I heard you reacted badly to it.
Of course I reacted badly.
Now, why do you say that?
Because they're devil worshippers. They're getting people to join up, then they're putting demons inside them. They stay inside you.
How did you get rid of them?
I didn't.
Rocket League is football, or soccer if you prefer, in cars with rocket boosts and jumps. It really is some of the most fun I've had all year, coming for free in its month of release if you subscribe to PlayStation Plus, with an Xbox One version coming later in the year. I honestly didn't expect all that much. What followed was 6 months of playing almost every day so I could get a couple of matches in. With matches that last only 5 minutes, it's easy to think, I've got a spare hour. Should I start Fallout 4 or get a couple of games of Rocket League in? The answer is almost always Rocket League.
So what do you want? You don't know who the fuck I am!
What are you doing? Get that gun away from me, psycho! No!
Life is Strange is without a doubt my favourite story in video games last year. Time manipulation is the base mechanic at the centre of this tale of Donnie Darko-esque impending doom, teen angst, bullying and more. It's a game full of choices that are actually meaningful, not arbitrary, making genuine impact on either the life of your character Max or the lives of those around her. The subject matters it handles make it somehow an incredibly grounded tale despite occasional bouts of melodrama. The characters are taking it all incredibly seriously and you in turn end up doing the same. Suicide and assisted suicide, while of course incredibly sensitive subjects, are handled unbelievably well, especially given the context of a game built upon choices. It does not shy away from the mechanics in those dreadful situations, often forcing you to make very tough decisions, even those you might not be comfortable with. Yet, I respect the game all the more for going there. You owe it to yourself to experience this story.
Talk to me, Max. Oh! No! I discovered I could reverse time. Max, start from the beginning. Hey! Max? Chloe? Oh! Get in, Max! In the bathroom today. You set off the alarm. You hella saved my life. Don't ever touch me again! Then I realized I had a choice. Hey, you okay? And the power to change everything. Bang! What the hell? Come on, slowpoke!
If I see you here again, you'll learn all about real trouble.
So, what would you do now?
Of course, there are far more than these few titles that have come from equally incredibly talented and hardworking developers just trying to make it amidst of likewise talented people. These were just a selection of those I managed to get around to and enjoyed. Make 2016 the year that you decide to give independent games a chance. Support the small development teams that will hopefully become tomorrow's game-making giants. Treat yourself to a good story, a challenge, and a fresh perspective. 2016, a vote for independence is a vote for the future.
We went to the PS4 because we had established ourselves and we're really excited by our success on the Xbox 360 and Xbox One, but there's this whole user base of just really fanatic PS4 players and gamers that we really wanted to provide access to our game. So it was time to put ourselves on the PS4, and now that the 360 and Xbox One are in the place that they're in. The console versions of the game, the PS4 version of World of Tanks, is different from the PC in terms of, the easiest difference to see is in the UI and the interface. Now, on a PC, you're going to be really close to your monitor, it's going to be super high res, and you're going to have a keyboard and mouse which has nearly infinite inputs. And you're going to expect a lot of detail and a lot of information on the screen. Now, when you compare that to being on a console, which usually you're sitting like 7-10 feet away from a big widescreen TV, and you have a controller that has, I think, 14 inputs, we had to make sure that all of the depth and all of the tactical and strategic things you can do in the game were all still available, even with that small amount of inputs, and then also that the screen gave you all the information you needed without becoming too cluttered and just shoving a bunch of text in your face, because nobody wants just a bunch of text in your face. And that was one of the biggest differences from the PC version. Aside from that, we also tuned the game specifically for the console, because we're watching all those ecosystems differently, and it's our team's job to watch the console games and make sure it's always fair and balanced, and that any map or tank adjustments that need to be done are done or added or changed to make sure that everyone's having the best time they can have. One of the biggest challenges creating the game for the PS4 was honestly getting the systems and all of the back end to work on the PSN. Now that's not a slight on PSN at all, it's just different than Xbox Live, but does a lot of the same things. So in a lot of talks and a lot of collaboration with Sony in terms of how do you even authenticate, how do we get your user credentials so we can create your account on our hardware. That was touch and go and took a lot of conversations and negotiations and a lot of really smart engineers some time to all get working together. And when we did our first open beta on the PS4, it was I like to joke that I wish I had a giant red switch to turn on the servers, and we were like, will it work? And it worked. So we were really excited about that, but that was a big piece of technical hurdle to overcome. The Xbox version and the PS4 version, we try to keep as similar as possible for a couple of reasons. Is one, we want all players to experience pretty much the same game, and it makes actually giving everybody more content quicker easier. That being said, there are some things like the exclusive Scorpion Pass for the PS4, which is the biggest map we've ever made for World of Tanks like ever, and like the Girls in Panzer tank that you can earn on the PS4. There are going to be some exclusive content for either console, but in general, it's more fair to all the players and easier to make the games as similar as possible. The skill progression on the console is faster than the PC version, and we did that for a couple reasons. One of the main ones is we wanted to make sure that the progression was satisfying and you were constantly being fed new stuff and being rewarded for your success on the game. And we knew also that the amount of content we were going to deliver would keep giving you even more new things to achieve while you're working on this accelerated rate. Will there be TOGs? Of course there'll be TOGs. So the question is, will there be TOGs? The TOG is a British heavy tank that is, the TOG 2, to be specific, it has a special place in my heart. It's something that I play a lot on the Xbox version. And while I can't give you a date, I'm really excited to get all of the UK line onto the PS4 as quick as we can.
Why is it so important for you to be making this game that is so happy and so loving and so beautiful? Where did that come from?
I think it is kind of I mean, it's sort of the culmination of all the experience that I've had working as a game developer. I mean, I've been doing this for just about 10 years, and it's always, it's a very interesting thing to make games. It's always a journey. Like, there are lots of different things that you go through, and there are lots of ups and some downs, and I think Unravel is a bit like a reaction to all of the stuff that I've gone through before, all the stuff that I've learned, that like this time I really wanted to do it right, because I mean, you always make mistakes and you always like make things that you're happy with and some that you're less happy with, but this is kind of like the sum of all the stuff that I want a game to be. I want it to be meaningful, I want it to matter, I want it to be fun, but I also want to have fun making it, which is kind of like also part of why it's so personal, because like when it means something to me, then it's more fun to do it.
So do you think that Unravel would have been possible if you hadn't had some, shall we say, less positive game development experiences?
No, absolutely not. I don't think so. I mean, you have to learn, you have to evolve, you have to grow. And you can't grow without like experiences. So I think Unravel would definitely not have been possible if we hadn't done all that other stuff before. And I mean also other things, just like it's not just like about game development. It's something like having kids, for instance, and you know, just all kinds of relationships between all kinds of different people always like affect you, and like you see how people handle those bonds between them. And I guess that's kind of like I wanted to make a game about mending broken bonds, just, you know, showing the importance of just working for each other and just putting the effort in to make things good, make things right.
Did your theory ring true that all bonds can be mended even if they are, you know, broken or they stumble a bit along the way?
Yeah, I mean, in a way. I mean, I think that my perception of what mending something means has changed during development, during like these past 2 years that we've been working on it. But basically, my idea is that mending something doesn't necessarily mean to make it exactly what it was before. Mending something is just putting it back together, giving it your best, trying to make things good. And, you know, sometimes you'll see the scars, but that's like really okay. And I think there's a beautiful symbolism in the game, like when you see that like thread of yarn that behind you, just like the tangled and strange path that it's taken to get you where you are. It's just like, it is a bit like life, you know. It's kind of crazy sometimes, but if you like put the effort in, you can get through things.
What's it been like working on such an intensely personal project with one of the world's largest publishers who, as much as we love EA, are quite often seen to be relatively impersonal?
I think it's been awesome. I mean, they've been hugely supportive. It's just, it did take us a bit by surprise to begin with, but it's like all the way from the first meeting that we had with Patrick Söderlund, we were kind of overwhelmed by just how much people love this and like really want to make it. And I guess I was joking about it yesterday. It's like when you're like the biggest company in the world with all the resources, like why wouldn't you make passion projects? I mean, you have the best possibilities to do it. So like, I think it's awesome. Like everybody has been just great. You get the words of warning, like beware, don't let them ruin your thing. But it's like they're not trying to ruin the thing, so it's okay. Like we appreciate the concern, but it's really okay. So no, it's been nothing but positive for us. Actually, I think it's actually helped the game quite a bit because it stands out. It's kind of like, I know it's something that I said before, but it's basically like when everything else gets louder and louder and louder, maybe the way to stand out is not to try to be even louder, but actually to quiet things down a bit. And I guess that's kind of what we did, like in this whole context of like the big glitzy E3 show. Like, there's the little game about love. That's just, you know, it got us noticed, which is always a good thing.
Certainly did. I heard that there was 100% approval rating on the internet for just a moment.
Yeah, it was funny. Like all these media people from EA were running around, just like they read everything, and they were like, "This is unreal. Something like this doesn't happen." But yeah, I mean, but it's important to be like a bit realistic about it, because it's easy to fall in love with an ID, and I'm really glad that people did. But it's also, I mean, what it's about, it's not about the stuff I've been saying on stage. It's not about the trailer you saw. It's about actually just like playing the game and connecting with it and feeling something for it. So that's why I love like shows like this, because you get to see people play it and you get to see that it's not just an idea. It's actually something that, you know, people have lots of fun with and just seem to really enjoy.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we recap some of the smartphone games that are making our fingers ache, including a historical twist on the classic Solitaire, and chat to Aussie visual effects studio Plastic Wax, the team behind some of the amazing cinematics on Homefront: The Revolution, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and LEGO Dimensions. In the meantime, you can catch us at playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.